get out of here relatively early tonight. So Amy Kinsley is our new representative that's replacing Preston. And she had surgery a couple of days, or Friday, and she called me today and said she wasn't doing as well as she had expected. So she will definitely be here on Monday for sure. So I'll send her stuff over so she can look things over and ask questions also. So we need to go ahead and elect a chairperson. So we can entertain whatever you guys think.
Second.
Can we call him?
Yeah, tell him he's chair.
That's fine.
Oh.
We can give it to him if you'd like.
Barry's available too. He told me before he came, he'd be chair. Another two.
I did it last year. Did you do it the year before, or is it your turn?
Probably.
Okay, very good.
Okay, let's go.
I nominated Ann to be our chairman this year.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, you can do that.
Since you're not chairman.
Doesn't it have to come from the budget committee members? Who's the so you guys didn't have much.
It can be anybody.
Well, it can be anybody, yeah.
I don't know.
It's good.
Okay. So we have a first and a second? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
Okay. On your agenda, the next thing is the operating procedures. So a quorum of 6 budget committee members must be present to conduct the business of the budget committee. We're right there. Any member may call for a straw vote to include, adjust, or delete items or amount of money from the proposed budget. The majority of votes will decide the action taken. All committee members are encouraged to request additional information or to give an opinion on any item. Salaries and benefits are the responsibility of the board of directors and are subject to ratified collective bargaining agreements. So with that, Superintendent Gallagher with the budget message.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you look in your kit and turn to the superintendent budget message for 2015-16, I tried to keep it down to less than 2 pages. Given the operating instructions being brief. So, stop me on being too brief. I'll be more than happy to answer questions. Basically, for this next biennium, House Bill 5017-A was recently passed into law by the Oregon State Legislative Assembly, and it's supporting K-12 schools at the $7.258 billion level for this upcoming biennium. As a comparison, the current biennium we're in was funded at $6.65 billion. So you look at the comparison of those two figures, you think, what's the problem? That's a 9.1% increase. Well, pretty much current estimates throughout the state from lots of different school districts pretty much are in agreement that a break-even budget is about $7.5 billion. And so there's been a lot of campaigning in that regards, but we have a $7.258 billion figure, and that's what we have to develop our budgets based on. There are some characteristics to this House Bill 5017-A I think it's important to be aware of. And we know this funding structure will be tight if we just stay as status quo. So I've got to hand it to Janet. She's been doing an excellent job of just poring over the budget, looking at past historical expenditure trends, and trying to bring the actual expenditures and what we have in those line items closer together. So the advantage is that there's additional dollars that can be used for a lot of the priorities that the board has identified. but the ability for any kind of variance is, you know, it's tight. It's going to be a tight budget. The House Bill 5017A does have a provision where the last $200 million of the fund can only be accessed if the district utilized it for a full-day kindergarten program. And so really, if you're comparing apples with apples, that really brings it down to a $7.058 billion level, which is only about a 6.1% increase. Now, our district has been piloting full-day kindergarten out at Union for a few years now because it really has been not much of a cost increase other than a few supplies here and there. Because we had the staffing, we had the capacity, and we knew this juncture would come up, and we wanted to have some past practice to know, gee, is this a good benefit for kids or is it not? And the results have been tremendous. And so the board of directors did approve, most recently, that we moved to a full-day kindergarten program district-wide for next school year. Now that does allow us to access that last $200 million of the funding formula. Other characteristics in this proposed budget include, I know PERS is always on the front lobes of people's brains. I know it's a hot topic. Most recently, the PERS reforms of a couple of years ago were overturned by the Oregon Supreme Court. And I think there was a lot of concern about, gee, what's it going to be for our budget on an immediate basis? And the answer is, unless the PERS board does something not according to their pattern or past practice, it's really not going to affect this budget at all. We're still incurring some of the savings that was a resolution of the PERS reform of a couple of years ago, but it will hit us in the 2017-18 school year in that particular biennium with at least a 5.5% increase in employer rates. How much that's going to be for our district, we haven't crunched the numbers yet. It's simply a guessing game. It's very early in the process to really anticipate exactly what that will be. So that means this upcoming budget, 15-16 and 16-17, theoretically will not be affected by the overturn of the PERS reform. And that's the good news. The bad news is it's going to hit us hard in 2017-18. So one recommendation that this the board and budget committee might want to think about for next year is setting aside some dollars in next year's budget to lessen the impact of that 2017-18 PERS increase once we have more accurate figures and know much more of what that impact would be. Recuperation positions. This budget does include increases in staffing. That's something that the board has determined as a priority this year. If you look at between 2007-8 and 2012-13, we lost overall about 17.5% of staffing district-wide, and that was in all categories. You know, that's not fun for anybody to realize. But it did happen. The large majority of that was due to natural attrition. Thankfully, we had that kind of movement going on, so we did not have to reach the good clouds hardly at all. And 2013-14 was really our break-even year. That's when the downward spiral stopped. And we really didn't add or subtract anything in that year. And in a sense, we were trying to rebuild as our budget is allowing. This budget does include an additional 4.33 FTE for certified, and after last night's meeting, there's an additional half FTE for classified, and there is a restructuring of administrative, no initial cost right now until it'll be subject to negotiations. Another half FTE of administrative as we restructure the special ed director position for our district. Textbooks, this budget does not reflect any textbook adoptions. Keep in mind last year it was a huge blow to us, well over 200,000. That was kind of a surprise for us when we looked at the language arts adoptions. Next year I do believe it's mathematics. Am I correct on that, Mr. Cahill?
You are correct, yeah.
Yeah, and so that will potentially be another big one also. You know, we think about the new Common Core State standards, but really ODE is not does not have any recommendations at this point in terms of mathematics textbooks. And that's one reason we reached to this year the Engaged New York curriculum, which is a free curriculum over the internet, but it did increase our photocopying costs. Yeah, but still, it's helped closing that gap in the meantime with Common Core until we can come up with some textbook options for districts to consider. Building budgets, I know the principals did an excellent job in submitting a very conservative budget, just knowing that the emphasis this year is in rebuilding positions and staffing. Health insurance, Oregon Educators Benefit Board has declared that the increase in rates is about 8.1%. That is something that is a negotiated item with labor unions in terms of their insurance cap. So we don't know exactly what that impact will be. I do believe that that will address any kind of negotiated item estimates later on in the budget presentation. Facilities. Boy, we have a lot of facilities to, the list is a mile long. Some of the projects that are on the immediate horizon include the new soccer field, which of course is pretty much being fully funded by the Rotary Club. DMS North Wing finishing project, which is grant fund, all grant funded at this point. Bus repair facility, solar farm, painting, greenhouse relocation, which Obsidian has pledged $10,000 towards that. They're the ones putting in the solar farm. Roofing, bleachers, and I can just continue on going down the list. The list really isn't long. We have, you know, as you know, our buildings are quite old. And thankfully, with some of the seismic projects, like for instance the recent one on the DMS North Wing, it's added an additional 50 to 60 years of life to that building. To a building that's already 100 plus years is just incredible. We must be setting some sort of record with that because the average lifespan of a public school building in the state of Oregon is between 40 and 45 years. And so we're doing an excellent job in terms of preserving the heritage of our facilities and keeping them up to speed. And it's something to really celebrate and a true source of pride for this district and this community. Innovation and Learning Center, this project continues to attract grant funds. For example, most recently $500,000 from South Central Oregon Economic Development District SCOED and another $300,000 from our Memorial Trust, mainly to offset costs of the DMS Finish project and also installation of additional synchronous classrooms throughout the county. Recently, KCC received a $300,000 grant from USDA to put in an additional 4 synchronous sites within this county, one at Lake District Hospital, one here with our school district, one at Paisley School District, and one at North Lake. But it came with the strings that we need to come up with matching dollars. Well, the Meyer Memorial Trust grant, which we just received, $190,000 of the $300,000 is going towards those matching dollars. So it takes the footprint of the ILC and spreads it all the way throughout Lake County. And as the board heard last night from Dr. Gutierrez, he is working aggressively on duplicating the ILC type format in all of Central Oregon, heading towards the coast. There'll be an agreement signed this Friday with Southern Oregon University. And I hope for next year actually have a big influence on the coastal region in the same capacity. So that's a real exciting project with the grant funds that are being attracted for that program and the student success. I don't know if anybody caught the front page of the Herald News today, great article, feature article on some of the student success that's affiliated with the ILC. Advanced Diploma Program, you know, we were kind of worried about that for a while. There was some legislation introduced to cancel any kind of fifth-year funding streams, which has been the core of the success of the Advanced Diploma Program. KCC, again, handed it to them, they stepped up to the plate and said, hey, if that legislation goes through, we're still going to fund it. We'll have to be creative, but we're still going to fund the Advanced Diploma Program. They granted us at least 10 slots for our students. The good news is that legislation that was introduced died. So that means the funding stream is still alive and well for the state. And we do actually have 10 students that have signed up for the program. And never know, it might pick up an extra 1 or 2 with that program, but that funding stream is still alive and well. And that's really going to do a lot for those students. That allows them to earn up to 39 transferable college credits. with their tuition and books being paid by the district. Keep in mind, that's totally voluntary on their part. We encourage them to consult with their parents in that endeavor. Nothing is forced by the school district at all, but if it's their choice, we hold their diploma for them. Of course, we have them walk across the stage, we celebrate with them. There's just nothing in the folder that says diploma. And we keep it under lock and key, and it's theirs anytime they want it. But as long as they're participating in the advanced diploma program, we hold on to that until they're either want to exit out of that program or they've completed at the end of the first year. So tremendous opportunity for us kids. You know, I gotta say, as I travel throughout the state talking to other superintendents, this district has done a tremendous job in preserving staffing programs to the best of our ability through the years of the recession. And it really has allowed us to be in a position of strength as we start to pull out and recuperate from the recession. So it's kind of like a springboard effect. Other districts, they're just trying to rebuild again. Well, we may have cut back considerably in a lot of our programs, but we still have them in existence. And that allows us to springboard and immediately grow them and expand upon them and create more opportunities for students. The quality education model says that schools should be funded at the $9.2 billion level. You know, that would theoretically give us another $1.2 million in funding. Sometimes I just like to sit back in my chair and think, sheet, what could we do with $1.2 million? And I get a big smile on my face and think, wow, that would be tremendous. That would be the boost we would need. So I know it's a hot political topic, and I appreciate everybody's support as we've been doing a lot of letter writing and campaigning with our legislators. I personally have gone to Salem a number of times and visited with our representatives and other state leaders, and really try to be an advocate for our region and our school district and say, you know, the $7.258 billion just is not enough. It's not what we need to really truly rebuild. So this budget is a great effort in attempting to rebuild, and we have some positive momentum here, and that's the exciting. But is it enough? Not in my opinion. You know, we still need to keep going in that direction, and we need funding for that. I don't want to get people's hopes up, but keep in mind that with the House Bill 5017A, based upon the upcoming revenue forecast, if there's any increases, they are supposedly theoretically going to send 40% of the increase to K-12 schools to be disseminated through the state equalization formula. And I certainly would not get your hopes up with that. That revenue forecast is coming up at the end of this week, I do believe, in a couple of days. So it'll be interesting to see what that result is. But it's kind of a mixed message and mixed hope, because we still don't know at this point really whether the kicker tax will kick. And things like that can still affect things at the state level in terms of available revenue to be sent to K-12 schools. Let me keep going.
Okay.
Chief of Compact, any questions? New topic? Chief of Compact is, by state law, we still have to include it in our budget message, and so I've included it in the budget packet here. Keep in mind that there's legislation that it looks like it will pass that will basically do away with the Chief of Compacts, but at the same time, legislation will keep the metrics alive and well. So it's more of the process and the procedure and the red tape and the requirements that's going to go away. But the metrics that you see in this are tremendous. And our building principals have used these metrics a lot in their own building goals, their own personal goals, as well as staff goals. And there's some great data points that really are effective and research oriented. Like, for instance, the freshman on track metric. You know, research shows that if a student gets behind the freshman year, it's an uphill battle to recuperate and get back on track and walk across that stage with a diploma in 4 years. So that's a very, very pivotal time in a student's education. Another huge metric is third grade reading. That's a huge one, and that has a lot to do with our movement towards the full-day kinder program, the efforts that Mr. Principal Cagle has been doing in terms of RTI, response to intervention, Title IA with reading interventions. It's a very, very important metric. So the good news is these metrics will stay alive and well. And what you see here is data that the principals look at every year, and they take a look at the upcoming classes and say, okay, where is this class sitting? And what do we feel we can set as a realistic goal that they can achieve? And so it's not held to every year you got to increase by 2%. The metrics are, there's the ability to fluctuate according to the ability grouping of that particular class. Because we all know that sometimes we have stronger academic classes than others. And so it's really customized to those students. And so there's been a lot of effort put into the achievement compact, even though it looks like it's a spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers to it. To us as working educators, it does mean a lot, and we are actively using this information in our planning, strategic planning, and goal setting. Keep going.
Report card.
Report card. Okay, the next thing in the packet is the district report card. I think everybody should feel very proud of the metrics that you do see in this report card. Fremont Hague increased their overall ratings from level 3 to level 4. Lakeview High School received a level 4 rating in both the 4 and 5-year graduation rates. Academic growth at LHS is rated at level 4 for reading, level 5 for mathematics. Nice job, everybody. I think those are things that everybody should be patting themselves on the back and saying, nice job. That's something to really, really be proud of. The changes coming up is these ratings are undergoing some changes. With the introduction of Smarter Balanced, Common Core, a lot of the stuff going on at the state level. The state has actually issued a memo that's saying we're not gonna do ratings for about a year because we need a chance for the Smarter Balanced assessments to get going. We need some baseline data because this report card is based upon growth. It's not just benchmark data, it's growth. And for growth, you have to have baseline data. And we really have not gone through, this is really our first year of official Smarter Balanced assessments. Last year, we did participate in some piloting. And that was, in our opinion, a worthwhile endeavor. It's kind of disappointing, though, we didn't get the results back like we'd like to have seen. In fact, I don't think we've seen them yet. Still haven't seen them. And so we're a little worried about that. But so keep in mind, this is the last rating you're going to see for a couple of years. And are they going to change the report card in accordance with the new Common Core and Smarter Balance? Don't know yet. That's still yet to be determined. But some of the data that's in this, like you look at the district profile, enrollment, K-3, kind of shows you the enrollment change from previous year. It does show that we have students moving in and out of the district. Is this a super high rate in comparison to other districts? No. Is it the lowest in the state? No. But it is a factor, and it is something that our educators deal with on a daily basis. Students that move in and move out. In fact, most recently, there was an RTI analysis done, and what Principal Cahill did.
Well, the intact students did very well. They showed a lot of growth in reading and mathematics, and it was the transient students in and out that, the line went down a little bit as far as their performance goes. But the intact, the ones that we've been able to put through the RTI program, their lines went up.
Absolutely. And so it really speaks to the consistency that is associated with a family staying stable in a community and allowing their students to stay in the same school system. And so there's been tremendous growth in that regard. So you look at the student mobility, and that shows those mobility rates. Students transferring in district 5.6%, out of district 4.9%. So again, that's that transitory rate there. If you look at below that, the select demographics, shows you the English language learners, economically disadvantaged. Student with disabilities, I think, has a direct budgetary impact. The cap for funding is 11%, and so anything above 11%, we do not get any kind of additional adjustments for, even though there's additional costs associated oftentimes. I would say over time, the response to intervention program has significantly contributed to keeping our special ed numbers pretty static district-wide. But we have seen a tremendous increase in the high needs students. So even though the rail has stayed static, the high needs has increased, and that's where your most expensive. Those are the students that possibly need your one-on-ones or your intense interventions with aids or different types of pull-out type programs. If you look at, to the right of that, it shows the average class size for grades K through 3 and 4 through 5. Again, we're still very, very good in that demographic. Teacher proficiency in terms of highly qualified teachers, as defined by the federal government, that is also a very good percentage. And I understand there's some legislation introduced at the federal level that's pretty much going to do away with the highly qualified, one-size-fits-all type effort. Go ahead, Nancy, you're sitting right there next to me. Thank you for being here. If we look at the next page, under district profile, again, just shows more demographics in terms of our student population, shows some per pupil spending, comparisons, seismic safety ratings. There's a URL that you can visit if you want to see what our buildings are rated as. I'll spare you the time, though. All of our buildings are rated as pretty much 100% glass. Major seismic event. Now, define a major event. It all depends. You know, it's a matter of physics. I'm sure Mr. Zamudio could probably give us a 2-hour lecture on the physics of seismic activity.
All of our buildings? Not the ones we retrofitted.
Now, the ones we retrofitted, they would not have that same rating.
Right.
I'm talking about the ratings before the retrofit.
Right, okay.
And again, with the retrofits, keep in mind that it's not about keeping the building preserved. It's about keeping the building standing long enough for people to exit. And that's what the design was. So, very good point. Thank you. Let's see, expulsion suspensions. They're down from the previous year. I know that there's been a lot of positive behavior, incentive programs that have been going on K through 12, and they certainly do make a difference. There's been a lot of that effort, particularly at the elementary this year. If you look at the next page, it looks just like a wall of data, and it's kind of overwhelming at times. If you really want some good nighttime reading, sit down with this page, and it might put you to sleep. But there is some interesting trends with this, and so I have basically 3 trends that I want to emphasize here. Is that the does not meet category, pretty much across the board, are all lower than state average, except for in science grade 8. So that's something to be proud of. Also, in terms of the met category, 70% across the board are higher than the state average. Again, something to be proud of. And the reading, K through 12, if I was to prioritize reading, mathematics, writing, or science, I gotta say that reading is by far the #1 priority. Especially with the new Common Core state standards, the smarter balance assessments. If you can't read and if you don't have good reading comprehension skills, you're not even going to be able to understand what the math test is asking you to do. And so reading really is the most essential of those core academic skills, and we do spend a lot of time and effort supporting reading comprehension, K through 12, not just an elementary program, K through 12. If you look at the next page, college and career readiness. There's that freshman on track to graduate within 4 years. Notice the district performance is 84.6%. The Oregon average performance is 78.5%. The Lake District average is 80.3%, so we're definitely above the curve on that demographic. Students taking the SAT, we've always been higher than the state average, mainly because of the great scholarship programs we have that are connected to our SATs. And then if you look at the graduation rate, there's a 4-year cohort rate and a completion rate, which is your 5-year rate. And we had a slight dip in that with our 4-year rate, but notice our 5-year completion rate is still staying up there at 98.3%. Again, as I travel the state, people look at those 2 factors and go, wow, how are you doing it? Our dropout rate, we had a slight bump there. Mr. Crockett certainly could speak to it more than I could, but the overall trend, if you look at the trend, 0, 0.5, 2.2, and as far as I know, we're heading back to 0, right, Mr. Crockett?
Yeah, this class is not
And
good.
so, you know, again, we're hovering at 0 or right above, and again, that's something to really be proud of, because there's a lot of districts, as you look at the state average, 4.0%. That is certainly not hovering around the 0% mark. Continuing education, this one is a little controversial because the only source of this information out there is what is called the National Student Clearinghouse. And we do an excellent job of trying to track our own students. We're a small enough community that we kind of keep track of that information, just by word of mouth, and we talk to the parents and families. And we think that the percentages are much higher than what's being reported in this state report card, and we can actually pull out some cases and show that, yeah, we know that Johnny and Susie and Teddy are all enrolled in this particular college, but they're not showing up on the National Student Clearinghouse report for some reason. So it's still kind of a work in progress at the state level. You turn to the next page, curriculum and learning environment. Boy, you know, both principals here to answer more questions on these programs. But again, we have second step program for bullying prevention at the elementary schools, positive behavior intervention systems at elementary. There's a lot of secondary influence with that. The new program this year was AVID. And Mr. Hamilton really is our district AVID coordinator. An excellent, excellent program in terms of preparing students for the collegiate environment. We also have programs such as Homework Club, Title I school-wide programs, Special Ed, Title III English Language Learner Program, which is coordinated by Susan Warner. We've seen some tremendous outcomes from that. Response to intervention, which has really it's been amazing to watch what's happened at the elementary level. With response to intervention, you have these charts of green, yellow, and red cards with the students. Green being good, they're right on track, yellow being kind of in the warning zone, and red, uh-oh. And since we started, Mr. Cahill, I gotta say, it's been just so delightful to walk into your school and see how the reds have just been decreasing almost exponentially.
Yeah.
And the greens have been growing, and that's what you want to see across the board. And also at the high school level, Mrs. Chavez has been working collaboratively with KCC, and KCC has been sending a lot of staff over to work with our staff in terms of really significantly increasing the amount of dual credit opportunities, particularly for next year with the new synchronous facility coming into our facilities. So, also another demographic I thought was pretty exciting was the extracurricular activities at the high school level. Students participating in at least one sport, 65%. You know what, folks, you don't see that at most high schools. And I would say that's really a neat characteristic of Lake County School District, is just that availability. You know, I gotta say, when I was principal at Hermiston High, we had to do a lot of cutting, and the percent of students that could actually participate was much, much lower. And we know that when students participate in extracurricular programs, they have a connection with the school and they're more likely to stay in school. And it turns into great academic scores as well as high graduation rates and low dropout rates. I tried to be brief.
Okay.
Any questions?
Okay, well, so first I wanted to bring your attention to that, in the very front cover, is just some aids for you guys as far as a fund and a description and maybe a few comments, but mostly the stream of account numbers, how we use them, that sort of thing. So if there's ever any questions, you can refer back to there. I don't personally have them memorized yet, so I even have to refer back to them on a frequent basis. But anyway, the important part is the function, and of course the object, and then of course location. And what I did, you'll see, we've got a pretty hefty agenda tonight with the funds, but the 100 fund is obviously the biggest. It's the general fund. I'd like to get through that. All of the funds that are on your agenda tonight are some way tied to that Fund 100 in some capacity, whether that's a transfer, etc. So I tried to keep those lumped together. The next budget meeting will have all of our federal grants and a couple of miscellaneous grants that we have out there that are maybe not federally funded. So with that, I decided, me and Mr. Cahill decided this afternoon that if it was pretty status quo, we were going to keep going, and if it was something that we need to talk about, then we'd stop. And of course, principals and that sort of thing interrupt me. if you guys see something that I missed or whatever, et cetera. And if you have questions, cut me off, so.
Can I jump in right now?
What? Jeez, Will.
Sorry to rain on the parade here, but anyway, in Fremont, the art, which is art and music 130, the amount is left out, 410.
The amount was left out in 410?
Yeah, I don't see a 410 in there.
Okay.
So everything else looks great though, so.
Thanks, Will. When we get to Fremont, just let me make sure, because I've also got my hard copy up here.
Okay.
And as best as we,
Well, I can bring the amount to the next meeting, or I can bring my backup.
oh, that's okay, that's okay. You might have, it might be here, and we've checked it 3 times between Patty, Amy, and myself, so it's
Well,
possible.
I don't know.
It's very possible. Okay, so what I'd like to start with, if you look, you should have revenue for Fund 100. Briefly, of course, property taxes, and I'm kind of a conservative budget person, so you know, I know that Ann, you can probably speak better on the property taxes issues more than myself, but it appeared to me that that was a pretty good round 2.5 million, pretty close to where we should be. And of course, looking at trends, and as Mr. Gallagher said, I did kind of look back, plus that helped me be more in tune with the district's expenses and revenues and their trends coming across the board. So, moving on down, I'm not going to take a lot of time because a lot of this is pretty status quo also coming across. The school support fund I did want to mention to you, they changed this on a daily basis, I feel like. However, this was 4/24, so I haven't seen anything since, but that doesn't mean it will not come back. On the school, state school fund, they are basing it off of $7.255 billion over a 50-50 split between the biennium of 15-16 to 17-18, or excuse me, to 16-17, excuse me. So what we will actually end up with, now this also includes a weighted ADM figure, which let me remind you that encompasses full-day kindergarten. We have adopted full-day kindergarten. So that'll be at Fremont and at Union School, both places, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then plus the 10 students for the KCC Advanced Diploma Program, because we can collect the ADM on them as well. So we have school funding for them. So that number, we are jumping up, but that is due to full-day kinder and those 10 slots that we have for the KCC.
One thing, if you don't mind me emphasizing here is the 50-50 split. Traditionally, the state has always split at 49-51. They've sent 49% of the fund the first year of the biennium and 51% the next. Just because that way you have a little bit of upswing for your increased costs. This is a 50-50 split. So you have to keep that in mind because what we're getting this year is what we're getting next year. We're not seeing that increase there. So that'll be a factor for next year's budget.
With the ADM revenue, along with our property taxes, because those get pulled away from that final figure, we're going to look at about 4.852 million for the year, for next year, which also will mean 16, 17 will also see that same figure unless there's a change in ADM, which is possible. I'm getting stuff from 13-14 that they're trimming up now, which actually turned out to be a good thing. We have more students, so they're kicking on a little bit more money. So it could go either way. I'm predicting that our beginning fund balance, if you scroll down a little bit further there, 5,400, the beginning fund balance. Right now, it looks like it's going to be about 1.343 million, which is great because all year I've been predicting about 1.2. But 13-14 also came in, and that was. It started out at 88,000 and ended up being 66,000. Like I say, they change it on a daily basis. So there's a little extra in there that we get off of that, plus 14-15 state school fund was higher. Again, we had a few more students in there.
For your beginning fund balance, are you anticipating the federal forest dollars that should come in June?
You know what, let me, hold on just a second here. The 44,000, yes.
So you should get more than that.
Oh, really?
That legislation that passed wanted to see the federal payment come out within 45 days by June 30th. So it's
okay.
going to be equivalent to the 11-12 amount less, I think it's 5%, and then less a little bit of sequestration.
Mhm.
So you should see, another 300,000 that you've been seeing. You'll see that next year as well.
I just made her day.
Yeah, I mean, for you, then it just is a cash flow issue because then
Right.
it comes back out later.
Utilization form.
So
Right.
Keep in
I
mind
don't
that
know what you want to do because you're going to get it this June, you're going to get it
Right.
next year as well.
It just changes your revenue sources,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
anything you
Your
get
timing.
through that is offset in the equalization formula. That's the sad news, but if you lose, then they increase it at the state
Yeah.
level, to offset that's the equalization.
So it's one way or the other.
But.
It'll
so-
help the cash on
Yes.
July 1st.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Exactly. So yes. So no, I did not receive that. But thank you.
I mean, we'll see if they get it out in 45 days, but that was their goal. That was why they passed that
Good,
part of that legislation.
thank you. Good.
Okay. Any questions in regards to the revenue in Fund 100? All right, so, keep turning the page there. You should see, up in the left-hand corner, there should say Fund 100 General Fund, location, Union School. What I did is I went by school, and I just kind of thought that that might be a little bit easier to follow. Let's see how it looks for us. So at the Union School, I think we previously mentioned that we did get another teacher position approved with the board of directors. So there'll be an actual additional teacher in there, just to make note that we have 2 already, there'll be actually 3. Everything on page 1 of Union School is pretty status quo. We do have some durable supplies that is $67,000 we didn't budget for last year.
Did we address that?
Yes,
Yeah.
if you know it off the cuff. yes.
Classroom desks.
Oh, that's right, yes,
Classroom desks.
yes, that is
They're
right.
not changing the general consumable supply on it by $200.
That's right. Let's see, pretty well status there. I did want to mention also that if you turn the page, there's Director of Business Support, Property Insurance Premiums. We're anticipating about an 8% increase in in all of our insurance this year. I already kind of have that figure roundly figured. Been working with Andrew on that. So I did want to mention that we will see an 8% increase. That always, claims, things like that. We do have one claim that is pretty old, but it's still kind of out there a little bit. So we get in on that for a little bit. Let's see here. Plant and operation. Pretty status quo. If there's something that jumps out at you, please don't hesitate to stop me. To go down through there. I did want to mention also that, which was previously mentioned, printing and binding, mostly printing, on page 3 of Union. We do have an increase there. Engaged New York, we did see quite a bit of expense. Engaged New York, Mr. Cahill, if you want to kind of dwell
Yeah.
on that a little bit.
Just very, very quick. With the adoption of Common Core, we as staff realized that the current curriculum of Saxon Math wasn't really connecting to what we needed to do with the Common Core standards. So Union Fremont Hay, collectively, we gathered as professionals and we looked at activity as far as engaging, Common Core, and what the best math program available would be. I sent some teachers on the road about a year ago to some things up at the High Desert ESD in Bend. The common catchphrase over and over again was engage in New York. So I think that's what really drove their decision making. Research showed nationwide that it was, the best thing as far as connecting and developing student critical thinking skills and connecting them to the Common Core standards. So with that being said, it's online. It was through the state of New York. They received these things called Race to the Top Dollars, which was a national grant. New York applied for it, got it. So, and then they developed a complete math curriculum, K-12. So when you have a federal grant, everything you produce goes into the public domain. So consequently, everything on the public domain of Engage New York is free, but you're talking K through 6 students and a lot of material to move our students through the math program. Just in a day, there's a lot of printed copies of things in mathematics. So consequently, the printing costs that we incurred with Engage New York really went way, way up. So basically, it's keeping us in a holding pattern until we do the math adoption for 17-18, which is the first adoption year. So that's the explanation on that. So as we go through this, between Union School and Fremont Hay, you're going to see some pretty hefty increases in the line item for mathematics. So that's the explanation. We sat down, we did a very comprehensive analysis as far as what printing costs were going to be for next year. I credit that to Teresa Whitman, who was our math coach. She really rolled up her sleeves, went to work on that. And so I think we gave a very, very good estimate as far as what Engage New York is going to cost us next year in the realm of printing costs. So that's it.
How are you guys saving electricity money out of Union? Looks like you are.
Electricity?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to let Jan answer.
We're going to turn on
We're working in a
Calmer environment.
let me see here, electricity.
Is the teacherage part of that electricity bill? Is there changes there?
The teacherage is vacant, and it's,
Right.
Was it part of that electricity bill?
no, it's
Okay.
separate, it's on a separate line, and it comes with the rent that we come out, so it's in a different situation there. Give me just 1 second, my computer.
Well, it was good work. Keep it up.
Yeah, I can answer that, hold on just a second here, just give me 2 minutes.
This Surprise Valley, that's Surprise Valley.
It is
The
Surprise
rates
Valley
went up.
Electric. The rates recently did go
They
up.
just went up this month.
Maybe you had so many power outages out there with them that the rates didn't matter.
It's possible. Let's see, we are currently at the end of March. I'm just going to quickly
It's
figure.
been a nap time associated with gender.
Could be.
There you
Turn the
go.
lights out in the afternoon.
Yeah.
How old is
99, 82. We actually have it that we probably ended the year about 13,000 on average.
Okay.
So I lowered it.
this year.
What's that?
The concern would be this year was a really mild winter.
It was a
And
pretty
so the
mild
heating
winter.
costs would be, is it electric heat or is it?
It is, yeah, so that probably has a lot to do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, on average, each month was about 3 degrees
Yeah,
above
it's
average.
Yeah.
certainly much warmer than the last 2 winters.
Mhm.
So yeah, that could be part of it.
That's
Yeah,
probably it.
I'm sure that's a lot to do with it. We can most certainly increase it in anticipation that we get it. Hardcore winter.
I'm sure the 6 feet of snow insulated this
Yeah. I have no objection to putting it back up to 18,000 if that makes everybody, I mean,
No, I just was curious, I was hoping there was something
something fantastic.
happened, yeah.
It's gotta be the winter.
It's,
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
bet.
it's the winter.
It is.
We good? You wanna change it?
No.
Okay.
I have a question about the PERS Tier 3 employer contribution, where it hasn't been there in the last 2 years, I guess, maybe, and now, I don't know what the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2 is.
Well, here's the anticipation, is that the tier 3 is more like your more recent hires. And so we are adding an additional teacher in anticipation that it will probably be somebody that is not already PERS, invested in PERS now. So we're anticipating that third teacher be actually a 3-tier.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
Just so you know, Tier 1 ended, I think, in the mid-90s. Tier 2 was just for like a 3, 4, 5-year period of time. And then Tier 3 started in the early 2000s. So anybody coming into the profession would be a Tier 3, and it's a different rate than Tier 1 and 2.
I see.
96 and 04.
Thank you.
There you go. And later on in the budget, you'll see where we have some new hires that are coming from a different district that will be Tier 1 employees because they've been there already. That's what they are, so they'll just transfer. So we're just anticipating, and it could be a shift. We might find somebody that is already PERS. But either way, it would be within the same. Any other questions on union? Just a quick note here, I anticipate which we'll get to Fund 240, which is your cafeteria fund. I'm anticipating Union, Fremont Hay, and the high school pitching in about $37,000. There's been a few things that have changed in regards to free and reduced lunch. Reduced lunch is pretty much are going to turn into free lunches, so I'm anticipating we'll have a little less revenue of that because the free is on a rate and the reduced, and so I'm anticipating I split it over the three schools, and so I just wanted to make note that $37,000 is sitting here on Union for right now, and you'll see it later in the cafeteria fund. All right. The next page, this kind of ran a little funky for me, and I apologize, because this is strictly the English department now. Keep in mind it's the way I did run it, so it should be up with Union with the regular, with the general ed stuff up here with Union. So I apologize that English and I believe social studies and science got separated out along with art and mathematics. So I apologize. Physical education also.
But of course, the big drop in English is that's the textbook adoption last year. That's the huge difference.
In the English, the 14,000.
Right.
Okay. So English and then social studies is straight across. The science, looks like you had to make up textbooks last year maybe. This year not anything on the textbooks.
Pretty much not too much change.
Okay, now this is, Fremont Hay is the art that I'm.
Yeah.
Okay. So we did up the art by a couple hundred. And of course mathematics is up, which she's already explained to you the reason behind that. And physical education. And of course we don't have intramurals. Keep in mind that I'm still trying to run South Coast. I normally have Patty and Amy run stuff for me, but it was just Patty and I today, so I apologize if we have some stray things that come in there. Okay, so that takes care of pretty much the general education pieces. Moving forward, we should be on special education for Union. And And really nothing outside of, on the supplies end. Of course, salaries and that are there, but a different deal. Straight across resource room, we're anticipating the same amount. And then that would end union school. Anything in there that throws a red flag or concern? Seem reasonable?
Good job.
Thanks. This only one. All right, so the next page we should be moving on to Fremont Hay. Now, I've messed with Will because I was trying to make his life a little bit easier this year. I found out that he was by paper, hand and paper, figuring out which grade was what expenses and that sort of thing. So, Amy and myself and Patty put our heads together and figured out how can we make this easier so that it's a push of a button for him next year. So we separated it out to first grade, second grade, third grade, kindergarten, on down the line for him. So we have those segregated out, and there is still some general stuff that happens within, that we left in general, but for the most part, if we could get it broke out for him, we did it. So that, I know it's gonna make you crazy.
Well, and I'm looking at a figure on union.
Oh, you're back on your.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Well,
where are you at?
oh, no, maybe I just answered my question. The jump from 1,000 to 20,000. Total resource room,
Resource room?
yeah. 14-15 budgeted, 1,000. We added half.
Well, there's no, the 20,000, the 14-15 budget didn't have, salaries in there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so you change, okay,
We kind of did a little change there, and put that there.
okay. Got it, thank
Is
you.
that better?
Well, it's just a little change. To make sure.
20,000 later. Okay,
We,
so that,
our IP rate did well at Union this year a little bit. We
Yeah.
contracting out the ESD with an individual development and service those students. Probably next year, well, Mr. Gallagher, Mr. Nash, and I have got to have a discussion as far as how we're going to fit that need next year. ESD is getting really stretched as far as that individual goes in service of the rest of the county. So,
right.
but conversations being had yet. So.
Okay, so, Fremont Hay. So anyway, we've got it broke out. If we could reasonably put it in first, second, et cetera grade, we did. So there's gonna be a difference. You're not gonna see, the 14-15 budget figures for those specific grades are gonna be in the general, because everything was general, last year, no breakout. So that it might be a little bit rough to look at. We'll get it through you, or two. I think between Will and I, we can get it explained.
Yeah, I would say this, other than the huge increase in mathematics for each grade level, they're all pretty much status quo. The one thing I will explain though is on this page, and you go down to computer hardware for $20,000. My teachers put in a lot of requests for smart boards, a lot of innovative things to really upgrade our technology and our instruction. So there's so much instruction these days that's linked to technology. So that's the reason for the increase there. So that's a thing to note. But everything else, other than the mathematics piece, are pretty much status quo.
Yes. So the first page that you're looking at is pretty much substitutes, or general stuff that we didn't break out. Tuition, we have an agreement between MODOC and ourselves, so we swap kids back and forth and try to keep that pretty even. We charge them on a flat rate, they charge us on a flat rate, we figure that out after audit season. It seemed to work well this last year, and so I anticipate those kiddos still going to state line next year. They're being up, so I would anticipate them to be still down there. So the 20,000 in computer hardware. I apologize, I've got your homework club in the title grants instead of here. Just a note for you.
Okay.
We're in the process of fixing that over, which we'll see those on Monday night.
Sounds
So,
good.
anyway, let's see here. Coming on down through. Let's see here, most everything here is salaries. We do have, on page 2 of Fremont, we do have $7,500 in textbooks. This is still general. Or, excuse me, it's English as a second language.
Yeah, and to be truthful, we don't know if we're really gonna adopt yet or not. The state has put a couple samples out, but it's a little sketchy at best, so, you know, the 7,500 possibly may not even be spent this year, but we will keep it there in case something comes forward with this ELL adoption, so.
Yeah, it's better to have it in there, in my opinion. Okay. There's an increase, if you look down at, it would be function 2210, improvement of instruction down towards the bottom of page 2. Last year we anticipated 3,000 in travel. This year we're anticipating 4,000. But we have a couple of programs, the PBIS and the RTI, that are in place that I know that Mr. Cahill.
Demanding quite a bit of professional development.
Yeah.
Speed of road time, et cetera. So.
So we kind of upped it there. Let's see, then we have the library. A little increase in the library books, to repurchase some library books.
It was based on the recommendation of the certified librarian that we contracted with the ESD on as far as eliminating some older materials and replacing them with some newer materials. Mainly with the Common Core, there's such an increased emphasis on non-fiction. So basically, the trend as far as purchasing books is leaning, yes, fiction still stays in, but it's leaning more and more to purchasing more non-fiction. So, you have a correlation between reading for pleasure possibly in the social studies area, biographies and things like that, or the science area. Well, that was the recommendation from this certified librarian that we contracted with the ESD and BAN. So that's the reason for the increase.
Okay. Again, there's some travel, professional development is the main driver there behind that. Principal, office of the principal is pretty status quo. Let's see here. I did lower down repair and maintenance, but the more I think about that in the plant and operations, this is on page 4, I apologize. R&M, we budgeted 10,000 last year. I lowered it down to 5,000. We didn't do as much. They're going to have a new playground put in, which I have that accounted for in our 450 fund. But I know that Mr. Roberts is very, very gung-ho on killing weeds and keeping the grass green. So him and I talked later this afternoon, and he proposed to me, maybe we should bump that up, and I didn't change it. I'll see what you guys think, and we'll voice your opinion here about that. But he's wondering about maybe 2,500 more. Maybe at 7,500. There's quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Out there, in all honesty.
He's really wrapped his brain around these playgrounds and everything, and
Yeah.
lawns, and he's done a very fine job, and I completely go off his instincts. So.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
So would we have paint in this?
Paint, I actually have dumped over in 450, so that's kind of a.
So this is grounds, this
grounds,
is not
repair,
major,
maintenance,
littler things.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I know that he's wanting to plant some grass in between the Cove there,
Yeah, yeah.
There.
Down in ADA, yeah.
Lady Hay. Fremont, he's got big plans too. And then there's some bushes I think he wants to kind of spruce up. And that are old,
So
you
that's
know.
not the big list we looked at. Windows paint.
Yeah, that's the,
Normally we have $2,500.
Well, I just want to make sure we need to add a couple zeros.
okay, so if everybody's in agreement, I'd like to bump that 2,500. Okay. And supplies, lowered that down. Let me look at that really fast. Is there anything on the top of your head there, Will, that, as far as supplies are concerned?
Well, if you look, it was 15,000 last year, it's 11, I budgeted 11,000 this year, that's based on teacher requests and everything, so that went down by $4,000.
Yeah,
So we saved some money there.
right.
The spending pattern, I also adjusted the requests into it, so anyway, we saved some bucks on that one.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that, you know, as we progress along, like I said, you know, those guys are getting pretty good about getting after stuff and getting it cleaned up, even though, I mean, there's still a lot of things to do, you know, but I think that they kind of get hands on things. Okay. Student transportation is taken as a district-wide situation, so you'll see that later on. Internal services, the printing, again, Engage New York, ESD will contract with them to do most of our printing. And again, there's your cafeteria fund for $37,000. Tutoring we can go by, that's a district-wide level situation. Again, I apologize, my English, social studies, science spit out on me differently, so I apologize that part. Pre-stats quo only up to about $20, so there, social studies, look like just general social studies purchases. And the science and lab is a pretty much a general purpose. The next page is completely art, but that's completely salaries. Will, is this where you're?
This is the page, yeah.
This is the page for supplies,
Yeah.
okay. 410 or?
Yeah, 14, we'll need to get a number for the next budget session on that, get that in, so.
And I'll look and read it, yeah. Overlook there too. So we'll do an add and I'll have that number for you guys back.
Perfect.
When I come back. Mathematics, okay, here's the big one for 25,000. Anything you want to add on that other than?
No, I think I really addressed that. That's how much we project on printing costs will be on this Engage New York. So.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. We can skip right over health, education, physical education, page 13. Basically just balls, equipment, playground, etc.
Yeah, we increased it by about 200 on that.
Yeah. So we should be on page 14. Students with disabilities program. Pretty much the same except for our supplies here. Bill, do you know that one off the cuff?
Well, I think that's the cost of doing business in Mrs. Berry's program, the special ed program. She's very intense as far as instructional materials, textbooks, teacher books, resource materials. And then she's continuing some additional support to last year's language arts adoption, so that's the explanation for that.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Extended school year, we always budget there, and plan on that. I believe we got the approval again on that this last board meeting. Resource room. We do have a grade list that comes in. Okay, so then we should be able to hit into kindergarten on, so it should say Fremont, and then there should be a sub-area 10 of kindergarten. Everybody see that? Okay. That is because this is general, and we have segregated all the salaries out into kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. So the numbers will end up still being, along those same lines, except for the fact that it is segregated under kindergarten.
So you put it under each.
Correct.
All right.
Yes. Kindergarten, we might see a little bit of a bump just because of the increase there of students and another teacher.
Additional teacher.
And the additional teacher. And again, this one printed out is English and science and math. We put that up there through 5 to accommodate for that requirement. First grade, if I remember correctly, everything is pretty status quo within the supplies, etc. on each grade level.
Yeah, except for math.
And the math is the only big one that we've got, which you can see, 2,000, 3,065 in the first grade. The second grade is about 2,900. Again, for mathematics, otherwise everything has been pretty straight across the board. We're anticipating, now the third grade, that's a testing grade, is that correct?
Yes, it is. They're always, traditionally, their areas of instruction are always usually higher than, they're one of the higher dollar grades as far as materials and cost of materials and everything else, because they are the first testing year.
Okay. So you'll notice that there's about 6,100 there, which is quite a bit bigger than the kindergartners or the first graders, etc. Fourth grade, status, mathematics is up, we expect. The fifth grade, okay, computer hardware, this is again, what is Halo?
That's a part of that big price tag that I explained a while ago.
The smart boards.
Yes.
And that sort of thing. Sixth grade, same deal on the computer hardware there, same scenario.
So those increases in technology are just in 5th and 6th grade?
No, they're, or yes, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then we should get English with second language. That is all salaries, guidance, pretty status quo on the travel and supplies. So if we go down to 2210, Jesse, this is your cue on the daily middle school. Oh, I'm already on the daily middle school.
Where are we?
I'm sorry. I made it through the 6th grade. So, I apologize. Anything in Fremont that I've missed or have questions on? Yes, Dustin.
A couple questions, and it's more for Will. The listening sessions that we did with the board, one of the things that came up was the perception of hold the line with supplies. So I guess my question would be, I mean, the supply budget is fairly consistent through this. Was there, the request didn't increase from the teachers, or it was pared down?
Everything that they requested is in this budget, so.
So they were encouraged to,
Yeah, I said as far as supplies and everything, you do need supplies to do your job and instruct kids, so, I didn't cut one single cent out of any of the budgets they requested, so.
great,
I kind of think that that huge technology piece proves that.
yeah.
Well, and I think that the common deal that we took between Steve and Will was, yeah, be conservative, However, you know, keeping this in mind, let's see what's the stuff that we need, and then we can start scaling back if we think that we need to, you know. So I think that's, and once Will and I talked a couple of times, and Steve and I talked a couple of times, and we didn't really, I mean, we had target areas that we thought, okay, we could trim here, we could trim there, and make that work for them. But really, I don't think that we trimmed.
In reality too, you know, statistically, they usually come in under their budgets every year. Occasionally, you know, you might see something like PE last year went over a little bit. Art went over a little bit. As far as the grade level teachers, they stayed within their budgets and actually, in some cases, way under their budgets. So.
And so where does, like, requests for desk come in? Is that?
That's in the durable piece, you know, where you saw where we have the $6,400 edition of Union. I think that's one thing we really need to probably ramp up next year and try to get more, hopefully, as the budget stays steady and holds well. We do need to start replacing some furniture, desks and things like that. So, it's been a while since I think this Union purchase is the first time in quite a long time we've bought into new student desks.
So would that come from a teacher request or just from?
It's been coming from teacher requests, so. Anyway, I believe down at Fremont, Mrs. Lanton was the last one to put in for a set of new student desks. And that's been years ago. It's been since I've been at Fremont, but it's been a while, so. So yes, I think, you know, we still have adequate enough desks. You know, our student population's been going down, so consequently a lot of desks are being put in storage even in this building. And we seem to have enough of them, but like I said, that are starting to wear out.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks? Okay, thank you.
It's travel.
Good?
Yeah,
Great.
doing great.
Okay. All right, so Daily Middle School. Jesse, Abbott.
Sure, are we talking down 2210?
Yes.
So you'll see the big jump up to, at the bottom at 2210 for travel out of district. That's our Avid program that we have implemented that, if you guys remember, that was the request, I think last year when we got the Avid program approved. That was our out of district travel for taking our group of teachers to the Summer Institute, and then district director training as required by Avid. So that's all of our travel for that, is what that bump is.
And two, I'll just make a note that it's going to appear that we are over with Abbott. And the reason for that is the timing of when the school board approved it versus when the budget was done. So we do have contingency funds that will be fine, but right at the moment it does appear to be over. And plus some of it, it was paid twice in 1 year, essentially.
Yeah, because when we implemented and everything happened, just the way the fiscal years fell, we ended up paying two.
The first year and the second year.
Out of this same fiscal year.
Would have been out of this.
So, yeah. So at the back end, it should be a lot better off.
So this should equate for the third year, which is a 3-year training program.
Well,
or is that
it's
correct?
a 3-year training program. Well, it's a 2-year training program for the district director. The trainings that I'm required to attend as the district director. And then the summer institutes are required for new Avid-elect teachers, and it's a 3-year cycle. But really, it's when you're an Avid, you're going to be sending folks to that pretty much yearly, because the requirement is if you're going to teach an Avid-elect class, you have to go through summer institute. And there's just so many strands, and with our goal of going school-wide with Avid, the summer institute will probably be more like a 5 to 8 year deal.
So you're anticipating seeing this amount in travel almost every year as you continue?
Probably pretty close. It'll be less, a little bit less when the district director travel stops, and that's pretty substantial because the trainings are, you know, kind of all over the place. So, and that is, I have 2 more of those next year, and then that district director piece is done. There's no more of that. So then it's just solely summer institute travel, or if there's any other trainings. They have path trainings where we don't have to send teachers to summer institute necessarily. We can send them to a path training that may be at a demo school in Boise or a demo school in Portland or whatever the case may be. So.
We've already hired, didn't our new, Dylan, I don't remember his last name,
Sullivan?
but didn't he have experience in, yeah.
He's got some added experience,
So-
yeah.
I think it will act as a magnet, hopefully, you know, that will be one thing we can put in our.
Well, I know that we had many people at job fairs. I had several teachers ask, do you guys have Avid? And they wanted to talk about that, and it's becoming that type of program that people are kind of attracted to.
Yeah,
Just because of
it's
what
very
it is.
exciting.
Yeah. And AVID is the college preparedness
Yeah, it's that college
program?
readiness class. It's advancement via individual determination. Right now, we started it this year just at the 7th grade. Next year, we're rolling it into another 7th grade class, and it'll continue on. So next year, we'll be completely AVID middle school. So there'll be an AVID class 7th grade, AVID class 8th grade, with the intention of adding a new one every year. And in 6 years, hopefully sooner, we have an AVID elective class in every grade level. And then in the meantime, we'll also be going AVID school-wide with, it's just best practices really, where we're not just, we're using the strategies in the AVID elect class and teaching those kids, but it's also infiltrated the school and we're going school-wide with it.
That's a very short explanation to have it, by the way.
Yeah.
It's quite the program.
It's good. It's very exciting.
Okay. Okay, moving on. And Steve, jump in anytime you feel the need there. Let's see here. Huh?
Just, I think just some roll-up costs would be, I think our teachers came in very similar or exact to what they were last year in middle school.
You mean as far as dollar figures?
Yeah, and your 300, 400s.
And, oh, gotcha, yes. I think we're pretty status on that. There's, other than the AVID piece, nothing is jumping out at me except for, and again, the repair and maintenance piece of that. For DMS, he might be okay at 7,000. Again, John and I had another conversation today regarding, I know he's going to pull some bushes out that are old and that sort of thing, but being that we have the north wing construction that's probably going to be happening, I mean, other than the lawns and that sort of thing, I don't know that there's anything major here that we need to bump that by 7,000. Do you guys feel like that? Okay.
Did we talk about the front entrance concrete
Where? Right here.
at LHS, the front door?
LHS, he's got some huge plans for.
Oh, this is DMS.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that'd be on another list.
You might not want to come by in the summertime. Okay. Construction 101 out there, I'm afraid. No, it's all good. Printing, again, we contract with ESDs for some printing. And I don't anticipate any great increase there with DMS.
What are the dues and fees?
Okay, where are you at?
Page 5 of the general classroom instruction dues. It's 640.
Oh, the 3,800, Stephen, when we did the budget, Steve and I sat down and that also belongs to AVID as well. That's for, I guess your annual dues,
That's, yeah,
correct?
that's the annual dues for the AVID program.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
And it probably would make better sense to put AVID with AVID. Do you have any objection to me moving that over to 2210, either one of you?
I know.
So that line item, instead of being in just general, we'll put that over at 2210 so that all of our added stuff is together. Okay. Okay, so we start off with the English department. If you look up again in the upper left-hand corner, page 6 should be your English. Last year, there must have been a textbook adoption. This year, there isn't one, so that number got lowered back down. Let me just catch my notes up here.
Is that a bigger than normal increase for salary?
Okay, that's where we have Mrs. Zysett also coming in, so that which is replacing the 0.67 to a full-time.
Got it.
So we kind of have her between TMS and LHS in that split. Now that could shift depending on what classes they shake out. So we pretty much, which Mrs. Zysett is a new hire also. Well, I guess not a new hire, it's a replace, correct? Is that the best way to?
Yeah, it's the Simpson position going
To a full-time English position. So we'll actually end up with about 3 English teachers. Okay. Moving on to social studies. Nothing out of the ordinary there. Looks like we'll have some additional textbooks to complete a set. We only have that at 500, so it's not a big adoption, just a filler there. Science program, pretty status quo there as well. And then art program, there's just salaries there. The art posters, we did up that about $100. Band, we kept that pretty status quo on that. Mathematics, nothing. Oh, there's some travel on mathematics. Do you remember off the top of your head, Steve?
Where are we?
Mathematics, should be about page 11.
What was that, Mrs. Vandenberg?
Yep, that's her advanced math tuition.
Yes, thank you. That's right. So she plans on doing what she's doing also this year. She's taking kids Portland, as far as Portland?
Yeah, actually.
And doing several site visits and that sort of thing. So we made sure that we got her travel in the budget, because that'll be on us this year. Or 15, 16, excuse me.
Oh, okay, so that's the bus, that's just the travel cost.
The travel costs, correct.
Okay.
She does a lot of fundraising and that sort of thing too, so she kind of helps out with that costs.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that, I just.
Yeah. Okay, health education status, physical education, no change. Technology, which is kind of keyboarding at Daily Middle School, there's no supplies associated there.
The PE, I sure went down 14,000.
Well, that PE you said?
Yeah.
FTE.
Okay.
That's a shift in salaries. So we had 0.83, now we're down to 0.66, which is probably mostly gonna be an LHS/EMS shuffle.
Is that because 8th graders are now 9th graders and that big
That's a big
class
class.
is, no?
Or do I have it messed up?
It doesn't change our schedule would be exactly the same.
For the PE?
Yeah, I don't understand the
So-
changes, how
Yeah. I mean, the FTE changed and
I
went down,
wonder if we have,
but
we could have our split wrong between LHS and DMS. For these two teachers that are assigned, we may have our split not balanced right. So I can get with Steve and make sure that we have those balanced out correctly.
And that shows it went up in high
Yeah.
school.
I did.
Did it, so maybe we just have a shift in the 2 points, or the 2 FTEs that are associated to those, and we probably just have the wrong shift in it. So we'll just get together tomorrow and make sure that we shift those correctly. Okay, so that was that. Okay. Career related is the same, except for we have salary.
Quick question on the keyboarding,
Uh-huh.
the previous page. So is that a new class this year?
Was that an add-on this year? It must be, yes. Because we didn't have anybody there last year. That's new this year for the middle school, correct?
It's one of our elective rotation classes. So once again, I don't know what you've done with the salary, but we do have a middle school keyboarding class.
That is one teacher, is that just one period?
Yes.
So, I'm sure that's what that is the split, Steve, on that one. So we can make sure on that the split comes across correctly. So the dollar figure should still stay the same, it's just whether it's LHS or DMS will be the deciding factor. So, come see me tomorrow.
And is that probably the same with the career-related funding?
Yes, because we didn't have anything budgeted there in 14-15, but we slotted somebody there. So Steve, we probably better visit about that, because that's just salaries.
Yeah, it would be one period of a teacher's salary.
Yeah, but do you remember why we didn't budget anything in 14-15?
I don't budget salaries.
No, I mean, why we wouldn't have put somebody there, or do we just have them in the wrong spot, is what I'm wondering.
That's that career health class that we've had one period a year, so there's no change in the schedule. We've had different teachers teaching it every year.
So I wonder if we just didn't put it in a different spot.
Yeah.
So let's visit tomorrow in the morning, 7:30.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
Well,
I know. Okay. Let's see, the program, so some science electives, that stays status quo, woodshop is status. I'm on page 18, 1250, the resource room. We didn't show any travel there, haven't budgeted there, and supplies are the same as last year. Industrial and engineering is mostly salaries. And natural resources is also just salaries. That might be one of the other places, is that natural resources, is that split there, Steve, FYI. So I'll remind you that in the morning. Okay, so that consumes the DMS. So again, on the salaries, it's gonna be just a matter of where it lands, whether it's LHS or DMS. And we'll get that straightened out and let you guys know about that. Any questions in regards to DMS? We can move on. Okay. So, LHS, Steve, remind me, you've got, 1, 2, 3 hires, correct?
Yes, with one more to go.
And then, that are new, correct? Or an increase? One will be an increase and 2 are new. Okay, social studies and math, okay. And then another one out there, okay. So, just keep that in mind, we're adding on some more teachers, within this budget, and it is accumulated in within. Alternative education, just a quick note. COIC, we come to a conclusion that from 92,000, we felt pretty comfortable with lowering that down to 75,000. And right above that is instructional professional at 11,500. That did increase. I believe Lonnie thought that the credit retrieval and the expanded options programs would allow us to increase on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And let's see here. Salaries. If you go to page 2, you'll see where down mid-page it says 1301 KCC Advanced Diploma Program. We do have, like I said before, we have 10 slots on our ADM to get from state school funds. So the income is coming from there. The expenses showing up here in LHS for 10 slots. That's an increase from last year. I believe they slotted for 6 last year.
5 or 6.
5 or 6. They're fairly confident they right now have 10 applications.
They have until graduation day to
Change their mind. So at this point, we do have the 10 slots filled. So hopefully we can maintain that. With that will come with an increase of textbooks also, with the increase of slots. Okay. Guidance services status, improvement, library, that's pretty status, assessment testing, which is not anything there, instructional staff development, again, professional development. Travel, plant operations, okay, so this goes back to, Steve, if you don't mind, I'd like to bump, within R&M, repair and maintenance, sorry, probably by, I believe he wanted to, John's project out front is 2. I don't know that the sidewalks was in that scenario. I will have to ask him for sure. I do know that the bushes that are covering up his sprinklers are devastating. So I know that he has big plans to do something with those bushes. Maybe do a little of that rock that's right next to on the football field side, maybe do that. He's kind of toying with several different options there, kind of cleaning that up also. So I know there's that, but I will mention the sidewalks, and he's going to have anything on agenda for that.
Probably just patching.
Maybe just do an overlay on it, maybe.
But if you look at it, he'd know what I was talking about.
I'm sure, and he might have it eyeballed and,
Yeah.
not say anything. So Steve, what do you think there? Would you be okay with that? Would everybody be okay with that?
Let's see, one bump it.
I would say another 2,500, so it'd be 12,500.
Okay.
Okay. Any objection? Sidewalk. John. LHS.
Is there another halftime position added there for plant operations and maintenance?
Oh, you know what, we did some shifting around. Bear with me just a second, I can tell you exactly. No, it's not Joel. Oh my gosh. Let's get over here. Just, shall we?
Is it John?
John
He
is,
wasn't in that last year.
right. John is part of that on there. No, that's not right. We have somebody in there. Somebody's coded in there wrong. Oh, so we need to reduce that and shift that. I believe that's the half custodian piece, LHS, that is gonna turn into possibly full-time upon board approval or whatever, which is LHS.
Sean, go into full-time tech.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then, so that is gonna be LHS2, Fremont.
Board approved last night, Sean Alexander going from half-time tech to full-time tech, and she's been half-time computer tech, half-time custodian. And so it really should be coded as an additional computer technology rather than additional custodial. 'Cause we're advertising for 25 custodial, which she already had occupied.
But I think that she was supposed to be at DMS, not here.
Oh.
I think it's a matter of where she's coded again, DMS
So
versus
we'll
LHS.
have
I do believe that's probably what is going on, that's the only other thing I can think of, because we do have two there, the other half would be her half-time position in that capacity. I'm almost positive, that's just a switch from LHS over to DMS. Okay, and I left her position as is at this point. Like I said, we just did that last night, so this morning we were printing and I didn't pull that over, but we have enough in contingency to accommodate that, that switch. And so we'll make that. Okay. Anything else on page 4? We come down, okay, cafeteria fund, 37,000, then also the TAL fund. I have 1941 that I want to bring back in. I would like to take, which you'll see in here in just a little bit. I want to take the TAL fund and close out that fund essentially and dump it back to the general fund. We aren't using it. We didn't budget for it last year. They provide their own towels, etc. There was a little bit of income that came in on past dues that the high school did collect upon, so we did dump it to there, but essentially it would come back to the general fund. So that's where that's coming in from.
So the kids will continue to bring their own towels for PE?
That's the plan.
How'd that work last year, by the way?
Did I miss the towel?
I know. I
hate to bring it up. 45 minutes, it was about 2 minutes.
It's not over yet.
Just get started.
Tell us, Steve.
I think the coaches and the teachers appreciate it. I haven't got a lot of feedback, positive or negative, from the kids. I know the girls don't shower, period. So the boys hasn't been an impact. I don't.
And I think I've said this before, so I'm just gonna say it again, the girls would shower if there was some time and design put into that shower room. It's too, it's too wide open, there's no privacy at all. And so if there was some kind of structural changes with shower curtains or anything, girls would shower.
You might end up with a lot of towels at the end of the year. My closet at home's getting rather empty and none of them are coming back.
There's towel fund.
Fundraising.
Yeah, towel fundraiser.
Yeah.
Albertson towel fund.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Okay. Anything else on the top one? Really good.
Has to be.
Stir it up, Pete.
We need Barry here to talk about the paper towel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Paper towels.
Those are not fun, I used them on fire. I started packing my towel.
So you're gonna have to borrow back from these guys. All right, let's see, so I don't see anything that's out of the ordinary coming forward. I'm into English. Last year there was a textbook adoption, this year not, so that is calculated down. Looking out of the ordinary, social studies, this is where we have 2 original employees, 1 additional. There is, if you look down textbooks, 13,617. That's a combination of U.S. history, econ, government, world history, and geography. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, that's just to finish out what you already have. Correct?
Yeah, the previous adoption, they got classroom sets, the teachers ordered classroom sets, and with the new teachers, they would prefer not to have a classroom set. They wanted every student to have a textbook. So another thing that came out of the listening session that we talked to Daryl about, and so the teachers put those in to complete the set.
Okay. Any question on that? Okay, moving on. Science, we've only went up a couple hundred on that. Art, salaries, pictures, bands, choir, free status there. Mathematics, nothing out of the ordinary there. Health education, nothing there. Sports trainer / medicine, we still have that, but I believe that Bobby was not in the need of anything this year, correct? In the sports medicine?
Correct. She uses most of her budget comes out $299 for that class,
Okay.
and she's a volunteer.
Correct. Correct. So, just because there's nothing there doesn't mean it's not happening. It is happening, just no supplies or coming out of it. PE, nothing there that's spectacular. Again, that's probably, I'm going to say the .67 FTE to the .84, again, is that shift from DMS to LHS. They probably just have the wrong.
No, I think you have it right, actually.
You do?
Yeah, because they teach more high school than they do middle school.
So you think that split's right?
Probably, yeah,
Do you wanna verify with me in the morning, just to be safe?
sure. So, I would imagine you're taking the 2 PE teachers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the combination of the two. Just making sure
They
that,
teach 2 middle school
okay,
and 4 high school.
okay. All right.
Towards the bottom.
And then one of them does half of the health, so it's 1.5 between the 2 PEs.
Yeah, then the health.
Yeah.
Okay.
Must be,
Okay, so then, let's see, Spanish, we still have a Spanish program.
So on the Spanish, just looking at the salaries, it looks like it's the same FTE, but the salary dropped 15,000.
Oh, good Lordy Almighty.
yeah, probably just a new teacher,
Oh, yes,
This is our first year.
yeah.
first year teacher.
First year teacher, we probably budgeted for the prior teacher in 14-15. That's why that's so much higher. And then now we have a new teacher, so that's more accurate to what. So her budget is actually lower at the end of the day at 14-15.
So is there a new Spanish teacher next year?
That came about
This year.
Right. Yeah, and that, she's not a full-time either.
Mm-mm. But I think we have her correct this year.
We do.
Correct.
Yep.
Because she's picking up.
Yeah, one more, yeah.
Okay. I apologize, page 18 and 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. I'm gonna go with the best release budget for sports. So the reason why I printed was because of the 12, 13, 13, 14 actuals. So you'll see that later on.
Actually, then when we get to skip, we feel like we're really moving.
We're moving right along, right?
We're getting this in and out.
Well, I feel like skipping too now. Okay. All right, so on page 24, you should see extracurricular. First up is FFA/ag. Those are salaries. Transportation again is district-wide situation there. Band, oh, this is, we have her in the general band, not here, correct?
There is an extra duty contract for band and choir.
And you know what I think we do? I think we have her all in choir. So we actually need to do a split.
You just put it in choir.
Yes.
It's actually called band and choir.
Okay, we can fix that. Okay.
Okay.
Page 26 is keyboarding, salaries there. Okay, the one thing that I wanted to bring up on page 27 is home economics. So this one is going to increase due to student demand, I guess, if you will. Is she at 3 now?
She's at 3 now and
Or be at 4?
will be at 4.
Okay, and so then also that means that our supplies need to go up from 1,800 to 5,400, excuse me. But that's basically the growth in numbers in the class that she has.
Yeah, we went from 1 to 3 and 3 to 4 next year.
Yeah.
How many classes are there being taught in that, you know?
3.
3 classes?
And
And
then
4 next
Or
year.
4 classes?
Yeah.
So 4 classes is 0.67 FTE.
Mhm.
That also gives her a prep. So it would be 5.
5.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's
Like
quite
you got
popular
her to
demand.
do it. Very good.
Okay.
28, we went from 24.8 to 57.2. Area other program. Oh, we had a half-time FTE one. What did we add there? What is that?
We're on the right one.
Page 28,
Okay,
the total down, area other programs.
okay, so it's gonna total up, everything from page 27 to 28.
Oh, so that's, okay.
Yeah, so that's a total of the two pages. Okay. Let me see here, so it's 1250. Let me just grab and make sure what we got going on there. Uh-huh. 2,000. Oh, SDI language explanation. Did Lonnie tell you what that was, or was that you?
Where are we?
1250, the 2,000 on the textbooks. My notes say SDI language explanation.
Yeah, I think, no, that would be, this is, I think Cindy put in for some textbooks.
Just basic textbooks?
Yeah.
Okay. For the research room.
And actually, let's see, the 2,000, no, Michelle got some iPads in 14-15 and then Cindy put in for some textbooks, yes.
Oh, okay, so there's kind of a shift, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So down at the bottom there should be computer hardware at 2,000, so,
That was last year's iPads and then the 2,000, this year's 2,000 textbooks.
yeah, okay. Okay. Business and management, 7940 under textbooks, they're wanting some additional textbooks there also to accommodate. Industrial and engineering, pretty status from prior.
Oh, we lost a person there.
Yes. That is a shift because we have Mr. Smith is all over the board.
Yeah, okay.
He teaches everywhere, I feel like. But he's also, we've got a program at the DMS, so he's over there also.
Okay.
So that's part of on him. Natural resources, basic there as far as that goes. Okay, so that takes care of LHS. Any questions on LHS? Any further comment?
Area, what is area natural resource system?
Down at the bottom there, is that where you're looking
I mean, we added over 1 FTE,
So,
but what does that encompass? What are we teaching?
Does it have the new teacher? Is that where the new teacher, did you put the new teacher?
no, I put him at social studies. Dylan? Is that
Yeah.
good enough?
But we also have one more that we posted for that. for
Oh, God, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm sorry. With it now, yes. Yes, the additional position that we are advertising also hits here. Let's consider that.
So what does this teach here?
That was my next question.
Yeah.
What is
What are we
it? So
teaching?
we're-
What are we doing here?
Our hope is to expand our CTE.
Okay, so not necessarily just ag,
Yeah,
But
natural
going
resource,
into-
we're going to
Some
hopefully
ag engineering.
ag engineering, hopefully forestry if we find the right person, wildlife
renewable
management,
energy.
renewable energy, yeah.
Any other questions?
So just looking at is this the end of the high school?
It is,
Okay.
yes.
So, we're increasing from 22 to 27 FTEs is kind of what I'm looking at the very bottom line. Is that right? So 5 additional FTEs.
So you have the Simpson increase, which is 0.67 to 1 to a full. We have Zyset and Dylan, which will be brand new.
New math, yeah.
And,
New
yeah,
social studies.
and then
New
ag engineering, etc. So that's 4.
Technology.
We added a period to Quinlivan for world languages.
We did add a, yes.
We added a period to June
Yep.
for culinary arts.
Is that everybody?
The technology went from halftime to.
Your tech person.
Oh, my tech person, yes. I was thinking of classes is where I was at with that, sorry. Okay. Yeah. That should cover everybody.
And the new teachers that you mentioned are not, there's only 1 or so that's replacing current teachers. These are additional positions, right?
Right,
Yeah.
we've taken the Simpson position and made it a full-time. And then the other three are new.
That's great.
Yeah.
If we can afford it, it's wonderful.
So far, so good.
It's exciting.
Any other questions?
I did have a question about the high school, and I don't know whether it's in this or somewhere else in one of these pages. Since we don't get to talk about the TAL fund for 45 minutes.
You're picking a
apparently
new one?
We have about 40 minutes to talk about something else now. So, fees, the fees that, classes that are mandatory, there's fees associated with those. I feel like if there's a class that's mandatory, and I don't know where it's at in this, but that kids are required to take, then why are we charging a fee to also pay for it? It should be a part of the general fund of paying for that class if we're gonna require everybody to take that class.
What class are you referring to?
I don't know, I just remember writing a check for a couple $100 or $200.
Are you sure they just didn't cash that?
I mean, there was fees, I mean, class
we
fees.
have
Were they
a,
art, wasn't there
We have
art?
art, we have shop, these traditionally are elective classes that are supplies that are
But some of
projects
those
that our
are,
kids are taking home.
but some of those are a rotation. They're not necessarily elective.
Right.
They're on a rotation, they
Right.
have to take them,
Right,
but we still have them categorized as electives. but
right,
Technically speaking, it's a required class.
correct. And that should be taken care of next year, and but the fees are in the handbook, brought in front of the board for approval every spring or prior to the printing of the handbook. So that would be at that time, if we wanted to discuss fees, that would be the appropriate time.
I look forward to that discussion.
Okay. Any other questions on LHS? Anywhere? We good? Do we need to take a quick break?
Yeah.
Are we golden? Oh, Desi.
Just a short break.
5 seconds, Desi.
Stretch break. At the 2-hour mark.
At the 2-hour mark?
Yeah.
I think we're doing good.
All right, see? I spoiled everything.
You did, Desi.
All right.
So close.
Protection.
Oh,
Not compared
Oh,
with that.
okay.
But not-
It's not. It's not.
No, you're okay. All right, so district office is next. So, This first category, is kind of with the board of directors, and a little bit of you also. Not your salary though, anything like that here, other places. So I left the travel at 1,000. Now I know, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know that Rebecca's in her first year, and that's part of that piece. Plus, we kind of rattled around last night about the school board possibly thinking about the bend situation in July. Didn't know if that was going to transpire out of anything out of that. So I just wanted, that's the only reason I'm kind of bringing this up, because I left it status across the board.
I thought about it.
And it went. So I don't know, any.
For the travel out of district?
Yeah.
So last year, I mean, I don't think Bend is gonna cost.
No, but that also includes executive secretary travel also. So I'm hoping that 1,000 is plenty.
How much?
1,000.
Oh, we're way up here. Sorry, I was way down here. I think it's plenty.
Okay. I just wanted to double check, because I know we rattled last night about that, and I didn't know what we had going on there.
Yeah,
So,
no, I don't you guys think? I mean, it's a good, I went that first year. Okay, well, that takes care of it.
Okay. So, pretty status, there shouldn't be any election services for this year, so I removed that because it's on an odd year. So I think we're okay there because we were doing that this year. 3,000. Then, so pretty much we're down a little bit from last year, but I think, does that seem reasonable to everybody? Everybody okay with that?
So, let's see. 13, 14. Minus the 9. I was looking at the actuals.
It's at OSBA and it's the, on the 2400, the dues. Is that what you're looking at? Actually, it is, Lake County Chamber, Oregon Small Schools Association, but then the OSBA at Buckman are. And so we had that increase in ADM. So I bumped it up because of that, because we're actually at 2243.50. And I think we had everything paid that was in that realm there, so
I'm looking
that
at
buck
13
and so the difference between that of the ADM increase. Does that make sense?
9 and 2.
Okay, take 30, stay with me. Okay.
I mean, that's minimal.
So Janet, I just want to make sure I understand, are we adding, we have 1.7 FTEs right now, and we're going up to 2.85?
Where are you at? Are you on executive?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so here's the deal with this. In 14, 15, it would have been like Luann and Rebecca, in between the two. But what happened is Alana, the receptionist, actually got bumped down to fiscal services, and I didn't feel that's where she belonged. I felt like she should have belonged up with the executive administrative piece of it. So that's why there's an increase, even though it's not really an increase because we've had her for over a year now. It's the
You
same,
moved
it's
it
just-
from a different spot.
I did, yes, from fiscal services up to
Which is
executive administrative.
different page, different next page.
Yeah, it'll be later down a little bit there, so.
Oh, I see, right here. Fiscal services went from 1.8 to 0.95.
Right, which both the girls in fiscal services are both part-time employees. Okay, thank you. So yeah, that's, the difference there. I did lower down the travel, I wasn't sure about this. This would be superintendent travel, as you guys know, we will be having an interim next year, in 15, 16. So I lowered that travel down, but I don't know if that's an accurate assumption or not. I just wanted to touch bases on that. It may not be
I
enough.
don't believe it is, because there's a new superintendent program through COSA that's you're gonna need to be sending the new suit to.
Okay.
So I would bump that up to at least probably 6,000 to be safe.
Oh, they have district service?
Yeah,
Travel.
because if you look at actuals on 13, 14 to 51, 67, we saved a lot of money this year because I was a part of a lot of the executive director boards at the state level, so they paid for my travel. So we saved money this year, but the new soup is gonna need some support there.
Sure, sure. And I have that highlighted, so 6 sounds reasonable, it's correct, 13, 14 was at 7. Let me tell you what, let me just do something here. And then, like he said, he had, some of that was covered elsewhere, but as of March 31st, I show about 5,600. So but that's as of March 31st in travel. So that doesn't include anything in April and May, which I don't remember if you went anywhere in April and May.
I think we need to review that figure because that's way too high.
So what do you guys want for the new interim?
Well, I would just go ahead with the suggestion of 6. and
Sure.
all of that.
6, okay. I'm good with that.
Okay.
Everybody else, okay? 6? Okay.
What is district paid TSA?
So like if you have a qualifying health plan that maybe your spouse has, so if your spouse has a health insurance coverage through them, then we can take what we have allotted for you in your health insurance, for your health insurance and dump it to the TSA for you.
Oh, okay.
So it would be one or the other. Okay.
That's funny that it shows up here, because it's still an employee benefit. You'd think it would show up
Yeah,
with wherever that staff person
I don't know why it's
resides.
going for 14,029.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
Or
or
is,
the two actuals from 58 to 12, that's what caught my attention, in 12, 13 to 13, 14.
oh, 5,800 to 12.
maybe, is it showing up everywhere? This is just the staff thing.
It
Your
is,
office?
there
Okay,
is,
okay.
yeah, it is, what? Correct. You're in that. And I believe that yours is entirely in that also.
Yeah.
So right there is the makeup of that. So we actually have, Luann probably had health insurance
He did.
versus Rebecca has obviously something else for her husband. So we can put that over to a TSA for her.
Okay.
Which just in a different spot. They would last year it would have been in health insurance for her.
Right.
It's just a shift.
It's in TSA instead of health insurance. I don't think.
Because he has an OSP.
And
That's
how-
for Daryl. It's not that late.
Not even
So when she would
I know,
do
come on,
LCSD, because he's an OSP, he is now in a TSA.
They'll kill us because they're using way too many acronyms.
Yeah, Daryl would not be happy.
Okay, any other questions in there?
Well, I'm glad you guys knew how to go together to get them at ease there.
All right, let's see here. Okay, so in 2510, which is the top of page 2, Last year, the travel out, was at 600. Mr. Getty allotted me one place to go. I did bump that up because, I do find there's a couple of the last things that are very beneficial, in July that I would like to be able to attend. So I did bump that up to 2,000. And I'm sure that I will be way under that anyway. Audit services dropped down a little bit this year. I think he was a little bit high last year, but we're already making noise with auditors on that. And that's one of those things that could possibly we not be fully, the ESD might pick up for all the county schools that are in the area anyway. So this year we didn't have to pay any of it.
They have for many years, but they can
Yeah.
drop that at any time, right?
Yeah, that's one of those things that
Yeah. They can say
could or,
so.
yeah, exactly. Okay, and moving down to insurance, liability, property insurance, again, that's an 8% of what we actually paid last year. The figure that was put in 13-14 is a little bit high compared to what we actually paid last year. So I bumped it according to what we paid up the 8%. Moving down to fiscal services, again, I think we answered that FTE issue there. If you move down to page 3, staff services, we do have, of course, the interim superintendent going forward, and we have also, if you will, lack of a better word, headhunter that we're working with, so I anticipated those dollars within there. I also increased this for recruitment of teachers. I know that all the principals were going to job fairs this last year, and so we kind of worked together on that to make sure we have that covered to attend those or different job fairs for the following year. So that should take care of the district office. Any question on that? Anything we want to look further into? Further question? There we go. District-wide. Okay. I left on 2210, middle page there, improvement of instruction, contract tuition, staff development. Last year was at 9,000. I did leave that at 9,000. How do we feel comfortable with that? We've had quite a few staff utilize that this year.
I wonder if we could add some incentive to our substitutes. Don't they have a pretty onerous amount of hours to keep up in order to be a substitute compared to?
They do now, they're gonna have to seek additional professional development units in order to renew their licenses, so.
Yeah.
And ESD is helping a
ESD
little
has
with that.
Yeah,
Little.
ESD is coordinating that right now.
And I wonder if we ought to consider that. If that's a change and we're short subs, we need to sweeten the pot somehow. What do you think? Steve, what do you think?
Anything we can do to recruit and retain subs, I'm all for.
I am too.
Is that where it should be though? To help with the professional development, or is there something else we could do?
Well, they come to the professional development sessions on their own time. If we could sweeten the pot by paying them for their time to come to those sessions.
Okay, so they still need to pay though for the, I'm sure some agency somewhere takes money to get your credits validated, right?
Your licensure, your
Yeah.
licensure. Yeah.
You say you take the class and then you gotta send a check to, so,
No, They would just send it when they send in their renewal, just like the teachers do.
And they say, I took these classes.
Yeah,
And we sign off on them.
Have a documented form documenting those hours.
And does it cost to renew your license?
Just
Yes,
the
it
same
does.
to teachers.
$100.
It's a $100 processing fee.
So that would come in a different place though than this.
Correct, this is tuition reimbursement.
Right.
Right, so probably like 310, you could go there as a district-wide, just right below there.
Right below there.
Right below the 241, where it says contract tuition, and see where it says 310
Oh,
instructional.
mhm.
You could probably go right there with that. Because we wouldn't be able to narrow it down to a school, it would have to be a district-wide.
I just think we need to do something, because
Okay.
that's an issue.
Yeah.
I'm not quite understanding what you're wanting to do. Are you wanting, in terms of tuition reimbursement, are you wanting to pay them for their time when they do participate in professional development? What are you wanting to do exactly with them?
Just to make it easier for them to stay current.
Sure.
I don't know if we need to pay the license fee. That would seem to me to be something you would pay on your own. But pay them to come to, it's not really tuition reimbursement.
Right.
If they don't have to pay those, but to pay them to come or whatever,
They have to get PDUs, they call it hours.
yeah.
Right.
And so we would invite them to our staff development, and they could fill out a time card instead of coming on their own time, like Will said.
Yeah, we just pay them for the time, just like
Pay them
a
for,
subbing for a day.
yeah.
Okay,
So that would come in terms of salaries, not tuition reimbursement.
Yeah, that's not here.
well, but Janet's suggestion was instructional, professional.
Well, it would just depend on how you, I mean, if you want to pay them a salary or, you know, a day of subbing or something like that, then we can up the substitute salaries, because then we have to take into account all the taxes.
I know.
In that situation.
Whereas if it was reimbursement, then there's no taxes, correct? Which to me would be more appealing.
Reimbursement.
We wouldn't be reimbursing for it.
Yeah, because they don't pay for anything.
Right.
Yeah, you're getting.
So they get all their
you're-
PDUs through stuff that's offered at the district and they don't have to pay
No, I
for it,
understand.
is what you're saying?
And the ESG too.
Okay.
Right.
But anything we can do to,
Yeah, I
Again,
think
wherever we need to put
the
it.
one of the best incentive, I think, is, you know, if they come in on these days and they don't have any kids, you know, we pay them for their time for those days. Or ESD pieces where they come in for those.
And,
I
and,
don't think tuition reimbursement even figures into this. Tuition reimbursement goes to our full-time certified
Right.
employees.
right.
It just reminded me of that conversation.
okay, so there's a different location where you would fund this,
We
right?
put it in sub-salaries.
Right.
Salaries.
Salary, it's a salary thing.
Right.
Okay.
Which is up here at the top. Oh, no, this is ELL.
Mhm.
So is that answering the right question? I mean, is that what's keeping us from having subs? Is it not?
That's one of the things that we have heard, that the new requirements and how hard it's gonna be for them to get those hours. A lot of them aren't renewing their licenses.
So that would truly
Yeah,
help.
I think so.
And so that's in a salary location, where is that?
For subs, we
Yeah.
would do it as a district.
121.
Yeah, district-wide sub
Mhm.
salary thing,
Yeah.
where is that?
It's gonna be rough. I don't think
Maybe we haven't gotten
we
there.
might have to create, well, right here is probably improvement of instruction. We'd have to create one. We'd have to figure out what's on our sub list as far as how many. And then, did you guys say how many hours or whatever they require?
They're like 25,
Isn't it 30?
30. Wow.
I think it's 30.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Almost 4 days. Wow, 4 days,
by how many subs?
Well,
Well, some of us.
Yeah, it's not big.
it's not over
I
that
think
big
fine.
at all.
Unfortunately, it's very
I would
small.
suggest we do a lot more research on this.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too.
I'm not saying all of it, but even if you offer to pay
Yeah.
some of it.
Well, I guess we need a number and then we can decide.
Okay, so you need to chase that down for us.
Correct.
Okay, so that's a chase down kind of thing.
But I think that's something we all heard on a regular basis, so.
So we got a short sub list.
Yeah,
We
right
do.
now it's pretty tight.
Okay.
So basically, we need to take the amounts of the now, kind of figure out what that high end is gonna be. Either way.
But they have like 3 years to do, 3 years.
3
Yeah,
years.
it's
I would need to look each sub up, see when their license expired, who would expire this year, and figure out what they, and we obviously
You
couldn't pay
can
for all
figure
of
10
it.
hours a
But
year.
Yeah, we don't need to do all of it, but you have to mitigate it
You need
in
a
some
lot,
degree.
you need a lot more information. And then we would need to put something together that would be fair in terms of dissemination of the line item. Because I think I'm in agreement, we can't pay for everybody's BDUs, it would just be exorbitantly expensive. But, you know, I think there possibly could be some, I think we need to have a conversation with the ESD to see where they're at with their program. Because I know this is something that Superintendent Nash has taken under his wing, and he's had a lot of conversations with the subs. And so I'd like to know what the ESD exactly is doing,
Yeah.
know what our sub list looks like in terms of what the needs of the subs are, and run some numbers and see what the costs are being, see what we put together. It's gonna take some time.
I think I'd also wanna know that those subs, I mean, just because they're on the list doesn't mean they're committed. I mean, if we're
Right.
paying for their PDUs, doesn't mean we're gonna get them, so maybe
Right.
we need to say after they actually sub for so
Or
many
so many
days,
days and,
then and have a tiered system of how many days
Oh,
of
now
PDU we would pay
that's-
for by how much they're
Right.
working for.
absolutely.
Oh, now he's just putting carrot and sticks together.
There needs to be some value attached there.
Well, we could do something to keep the extensive list of
All right,
subs.
very good,
As far
very
as
good.
how many
Yeah,
they-
very good.
How many times they've been in or, you know, throughout the year on the sub situation. So we could get, you know, get a count of our frequent subs,
Yeah, well,
you know. We can do that.
Yeah, so then if you're subbing regularly, then you're in for some reimbursement things.
Not too much.
Then you wanna be there. Oh, send me in.
So
Send me
does
in
that
for
kind of
this.
settle that, more info? on
Sure.
that, Correct?
But it would help everyone, all schools, if we could get something in there.
Sure, sure, okay. So I've got that, we'll have that for you.
Right time.
Well, if we're all splitting it up, Rebecca can do part of it, Patty can pull part of that, then we can sit down and crunch a few numbers.
And it's more complicated than that.
Well,
Jesse.
it might be, but
Well,
we'll have to give it a try.
At least we'll have a first look.
Sure.
Right, exactly, we can maybe get a better idea, and that spurs more questions, et cetera. I mean, I think, does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, so it'll be a first iteration,
Yeah,
a first read, so to speak.
yeah, if you will, okay? Good?
Good. All right, here we go.
Okay. You okay, Desi?
It was overwhelming.
Apparently. Oh, gosh. All right, so let's see here. Plant and operation. Okay, so this is gonna be district-wide stuff. And I'm thinking. Okay, I did, just to give you the heads up, let's see. Oh no. Strike that from the record, I'm sorry. I have a different kind of thought process on the water. tires and batteries is all that does not include buses. That's later down.
So what page are you on?
I'm on page 3.
We still, I mean, obviously heating and fuel has gone down quite a bit, but we still use quite a bit of it.
The heating fuel also includes the geothermal payment, which that's right around $7,700. It was only gonna go up about $60 a month in the next year. So there wasn't a lot of increase there on that. Plus also then, once we moved the greenhouse, over to, right over here, that will also be hooked up to geothermal. And then also the ag shop, that's the goal, is to have it hooked up also. So that will cut our propane down.
Daryl Anderson just did an analysis of the BTUs we've used with geothermal heating system. And since it's been on, we've saved actually about $158,000 heating costs. So it's a real positive cash flow for us.
On internal services, under repair and maintenance, the copier service agreements are in there, and we're gonna be up a little bit on that, at the end of the year, so I felt that we should bump that up. We're gonna exceed that $8,000 budgeted amount last year, from 14-15, so I bumped it up to 14.5. I took that on a higher end, of course, but where we are gonna end up, we're gonna end up being a little bit higher than that. Okay, all right, so technology services, this is where there's gonna be a change here with Shauna coming over to this spot. So that'll be your change there. Okay.
Page are you on, John?
I'm on 5. If I missed something,
But,
back
back on page 4,
sure.
internal services, we went from 26,000 to 38,000.
That's good. A lot of that is the paper and toner, we're gonna end up higher, and let me back up on that too, because the paper is one of those things where we order for like Paisley and we order for ESD, but they also pay us back. That revenue is not reflected here.
Okay.
It's reflected up in our revenues. And so there's a little bit of offset there. Last year, Mr. Getty did not get as much paper. And so I'm anticipating that we will have to get quite a bit more paper this year. And then, of course, the copier service agreements
I see.
is the difference in that. Okay.
And I have a question about the student transportation on page 4, the top there.
Okay.
We're budgeting, what, $7,000 less for repair and maintenance, electricity and that kind of stuff, and it looks like it's been decreasing. Is that because we employ a mechanic now? Is that why we're coming out so far ahead?
Yeah, it has been tremendous to have him on board. He kind of gets ahead of anything that's going to break down, and it's been nice. Instead of having a breakdown and the mechanical fixing that breakdown instead of maybe what's causing it,
Right.
sort of thing. So it has really helped us out, having him on board. title grants and that sort of thing. I think Mr. Cahill and I have pretty much concluded that there's usually roughly about a 10% decrease in those funds from year to year. My anticipation is that we're going to have to backfill out of Fund 100 to satisfy the full cost of those title dollars. So, for instance, salaries that come out of those title dollars will not be fully funded through those federal grants. We'll have to backfill. At this point, I put them in a contingency situation, added it to the contingency pot. We still have not obviously negotiated certified and or classified, so I kind of left that intact also. And just a regular contingency piece of it is in there. So I did do a pretty good jump on that.
About 100,000 in contingencies. We've got a total other uses, bottom of page 5. 255.10 to 398.6.
Okay, so what I did is your athletic fund, last year we budgeted for a transfer of 137,000. I believe we can go with 134,000. And then the construction and remodeling fund 450. I amped that up a little bit. I took kind of some spare funds there and tried to painting and you know, move greenhouses and
Yeah.
you know, the laundry list that we have, which we can go over.
Oh, no, we have, yeah.
Yeah, and we can always, I mean, that's always up for scale back, of course. But I felt like we added our teachers and took care of that priority. And then, of course, buildings is our next priority that I think we are paying attention to also.
Okay.
Okay. And then, of course, I did a reserve for next year at 400,000, that's cost.
Oh, okay.
Next is all, the tutoring is district-wide, and that's of course salaries. We plan on continuing with that. Page 8 hasn't been touched for the last year. That, 10. All right. That's pretty much all salaries. Okay, just to mention here, under student service direction, we added in legal services of about 4,000 in helping with Lonnie as far as the sped end of life. We have had to actually use legal counsel in respect to some of the, what would you call that? Some of the
High needs students with discipline and high needs kids.
there, yeah, there we go. That's what I'm trying to spit out. But anyway, we've had to use some of the, or we've had to use legal counsel for that. So we went ahead with there was no budget for that, so we went ahead and put in $1.50 for that. So we had some legal ramification in there.
Those costs have gone up a lot.
Yes. So I made it to the cafeteria fund. Any questions?
So what page is that? Oh, school cafeteria, page 1. What?
We made it up.
Fund 100.
So outside of the notes that I have, and to get back to you with, mostly FTE shifts, maybe possibly, and or moving like Shauna, fully around and that sort of thing. I've got some notes outside of that, are we relatively okay with Fund 100? Any questions in general or anything in specific on Fund 100?
Good. Yeah, so we made like $8,500 in changes to,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're looking at balancing back to contingency. with that.
Yes, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I was, when we were talking about the tuition reimbursement, and when I looked at the, it's on page 1 of the district-wide, here it is, page 1 of district-wide. Starting in, so the actual for 2013-14,
Yes.
the 2,222, that was actually spent, right? That was reimbursed.
That would have been spent, yes.
So my question is this, in the contract, it says $9,000 is budgeted, and whatever is not used rolls over.
Yes, and for 14-15, as of March 31st, we have used 14,000, of which there is a piece in there that I need to reclassify for about 2,400 because it does not belong in there.
Okay.
So, yes.
But there's also in the contract that says when that 9,000 is gone, it's gone. And you don't, and so for the 13-14 year, it looks like 6,000 and change should have rolled over and should still be in the fund, not being used. That, my understanding of the contract is that it rolls over and is available for teachers to use, like professional development. If there was somebody we really wanted to bring in to give us training, we would go to that fund and say, look, there's 15,000, we could pay so-and-so to do that.
Okay.
My understanding, and I could be wrong, is that it is not, the fund is not to build so that in one year we use 14,000 and in another year we use 2.
Okay.
So,
So
I
what
don't
you're
know.
saying is like, say the 6,000, then you're saying you would actually kick over to a professional development? Is that?
it would stay in the fund and accumulate
Sure.
until the teachers decided how they wanted to spend it.
Spend it, okay.
That is my
I know
understanding.
we talked about that in negotiations, but I don't think we ever went anywhere with that because we were not consistently leaving that much there, but I don't remember the exact
Actually, we did,
conversation.
but I think it's a timing issue. I think, wasn't this year the first year that
This
we do
says
that?
July of 2013 it starts, and that's when it's in here. And so that means for the 13-14, when it says actual, it should still read 9,000.
Oh,
The 2222 was actual, was.
What was
actual in terms of
spent, but it should have been what? The 9,000 goes into a fund. It doesn't,
And it is.
but that's what it should read then, is 9,000. Because in the contract, it says,
Can I?
it
Okay,
says
so you're
right
saying-
here
So,
that the district will be responsible for funding the account with 9,000 per
Right.
year.
Right.
Any remaining balance will accumulate in addition to the 9,000 added to the account by the district.
Right.
So
So what
It
you're
should
saying
read
is in
9,000.
14-15,
13-14, because this
okay,
This started
13. So you're
13-14.
backing up to 13-14 actual.
should say 9,000.
Well, you can't actually spend it if you don't spend it. So
Right.
the 14-15 should have been 15,000. The
Right.
15-16 should be 15,000 plus 9 if nothing was ever spent. So it would have been 24,000 now, $0 have been spent. But that's not the case because you spent 14,000. So 9,000 might be about right.
Well, wouldn't it be better to set up a separate fund and do a fund transfer into that fund so you can track that and just each year put a line item of 9,000 in this budget, the general fund? And then it goes in,
And then
it
carry
transfers over into the other fund that actually maintains the balance.
Maintains the
what's,
Because it says too that reimbursement cannot exceed the amount in the fund, which is 9,000 every year, 9,000. So if there's every year there's 9,000, that's what can be reimbursed back, and when it's gone, it's gone. If it's not all used, like it wasn't all used in 13, 14, that remaining maybe is transferred, and then it waits.
It waits, but it's not necessarily on tuition, am I?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
it could be like a professional development, you guys pulled somebody in, sent somebody somewhere, but not a tuition based, is that correct?
Right. It doesn't specify that.
The amount in the fund would still include whatever was carried over the previous year.
right,
We didn't say that only 9,000. If 9,000 was left from the previous year and we added it to the new 9,000, the amount in the fund is 18,000.
right.
We didn't specify that only 9,000 could be spent out of that.
This budget is not an accounting of what's in the fund. It's just what we were putting towards the tuition reimbursement. So every year, like the contract says, we put 9,000 towards that. That doesn't show what's actually cumulative in the fund. That's not in this document.
Okay, so where is it though? I mean, I understand this is the budget, but there should be a fund that shows 9,000. Because right now, when I look at the 13, 14, I see what was actually spent, that makes sense.
Mhm.
But there should be an accounting of where the remaining money is.
Which would be in a
And I do
14,
not
15
see
actual, but we don't see that in this
Yes,
document.
that's the
Right.
problem, the 14-15 actual doesn't print on this or, on this particular,
Right.
Yeah.
but, I mean, we could get you actual 14-15. I mean, I could get you kind of a overview from what carried over from 12-13, 13-14, but I guess I was kind of under a different impression, so, on that piece that's not being spent, and so maybe that's something you and I can further look into.
Sure.
It seems like it should be set up like the cafeteria fund.
And just
A
make it a
line item
different fund.
transfer
Good.
so much every year to a different fund.
Mhm.
So that line would always, the actual would always be 9,000,
Mhm.
because you're moving it out of the general fund into the, whatever, not the cafeteria fund, that. And then that fund is what tracks the balance of it.
Right, right.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna have a separate balance account.
Right.
Because you have to account for how much you spend, but you also have to account
Right.
for how much you didn't spend that rolls over.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Because of the rollover, I know it's been more than 9,000 that's been spent this year, but because of that rollover, that's covering that. So, because of the rollover, we don't cut it off at 9,000 because there's more in the fund.
I don't know that there should be though.
You don't think there should be what's out again?
My understanding when we did this was the money will accumulate. And when a professional development need came along and there was money in that fund, then the teachers would say, we would like to use this money to do this. It was not to be set up to, for some years, we have $14,000 worth of tuition reimbursement.
See,
Okay.
that's what was our understanding.
Yeah, that's not my understanding at all.
That was what our understanding was.
So,
And I'm not sure that the contract specifies that, but it doesn't necessarily specify what you're saying either.
so it's pretty gray.
That seems to be a language issue that would be addressed in negotiations.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
One of another one with the tuition reimbursement as well. The language is too vague.
Sure,
Mhm.
sure.
I guess our understanding was that it would just roll over, we'd be using that always for tuition reimbursement.
I know that there was conversation about possibly pooling that money if it accumulated to a large amount, but we never created language to do that, I know.
But I'm not sure the language says what your interpretation either, so
Okay. So
that could be an
maybe,
issue.
Ruthann, tomorrow, or some point this week, whenever, you and I could sit down and we can, because we could pull history
Sure.
and get an idea, and that way we know the numbers coming forward as far as actual, and have that piece of that conversation, and then go from there.
Yep.
Would that
Sure.
be acceptable?
That would be good, because if you aren't using the full 9,000 for tuition reimbursement, that money could be somewhere else where it would be used. Does that make sense?
Well, but part of the reason we have the language that we have is that the teachers want to be able to use that money, whether it's for tuition reimbursement or for professional development. And so, it's not the use it or lose it.
Yeah, that it was.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we don't wanna have that. We would like the 9,000 every year for tuition reimbursement. If it's not used, then it's still available in another fund
Oh,
for
okay.
another activity. It's not a use it or lose it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, and I agree that the language does not make it a use it or lose it thing anymore. It is
No, it
definitely
doesn't.
a 9,000
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and to have it recurring every year would, to me, indicate that it was not used in a it's there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, let's get together, Roseanne, and then that way we know where we are coming forward.
Okay.
If that makes sense to you, and then we can figure out next steps.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we are good with the 9,000 being budgeted
Yep.
there. That piece is
Has to
okay.
be.
yeah.
Okay, but then the question is the actual piece.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And I'll try to do some pre-work on that so that you're not just sitting there waiting on me. Okay. Any other questions? Comment? So maybe you guys tell me how you feel. How far do you want to get through?
I'd like to get home.
Do you want to get home?
Oh. I was here till 10 o'clock last night.
It seems,
Oh,
yeah.
whoa, sunshine. Where do you think I was?
I told you we had to drive for the meeting, so I think you want to go home too.
It seems like the other funds on the list tonight can go really fast on Monday along with the federal grants.
I think so, yes.
Well, my only concern is the fact that we have 3 budget committee members that aren't here, and they really feel slighted if they were not involved in the process.
Are you sure?
They're in their best interest.